Today, we're excited to show you what we've been working on and how we're leveraging AI to allow you to do the last and most important step in your FP&A processes, which is how to action this information, how to make use of this data, and how to leverage AI to do that. So, all right, Spencer, I'll turn it over to you.
So we're going to take you through a demonstration of Telli. I'm going to break it into three main parts. Okay. The first is the instant financial analysis. It works as like a council of advisors to give you some summary analysis. Okay. It will tell you basically what you need to be looking at. The second is the interactive chat. This is Telli's kind of heart and soul. This is the ability to then interact with the data, ask any question that you want, and also mold the system to your preferences. And then finally, it's the output side of things. Okay, so I've done this analysis. Okay, now I need to get this out to the right people in the right format. And so we'll look at how Telli does that too. Okay, so let's start with, well, we can start here in the what everybody knows, which is ReportFYI. So everybody is using ReportFYI to produce their financial statements. This is nothing new. This is the report that we're going to be analyzing. So what Telli does is it interfaces with ReportFYI to read all of the reports that you've generated. And one of the unique things about this tool is that it completely understands your reports. It understands especially your organizational reporting structure. Okay. So when people say, well, why can't I just take my report and upload it into ChatGPT and have it analyze it? One, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. It's very dangerous. But two, on the practical side, it's challenging for a kind of public LMM to understand your company's reporting structure, which is something that is very unique to ReportFYI, okay, and that most of you are really leveraging. So Telli also understands your organizational structure. All right, so we're going to analyze this report and what that looks like in Telli. And let me start up here at the top. And so this is zoomed out. I'm going to zoom this in just for the demo to make it easier for you guys to see. But essentially, we are analyzing this report. And then over here on the left, you see these, what we call analysis skills. So you can see that there are different angles at which these skills are analyzing the report. Okay. Give me a quick summary. Summarize what my key findings are, some different trend analysis. To abnormality detection. Hey, what are some outliers in the reports that may indicate something was incorrectly posted or categorized? Health and risk. What are the big risk factors that I need to be aware of? What are the health indicators? Okay, so it's going to approach the analysis from different angles. Basically, what this is like is if you were to have hired a council of advisors, and each of them is really good at a specific skill. One's really good at doing KPIs and metrics. One's like a really good forensic accountant that can identify abnormalities in the data. Okay, one's really good at risk analysis. So you have this group of advisors. You produce your financial report, you give it to each of them, and you say, okay, everybody, come back and give me a summary briefing of what you found based on your area of expertise. That's what these agents or these different agents over here do. And they're pretty smart too. They also learn over time, and you can train them to be better. They'll typically give you the ability to get a high-level look, gives you context, and oftentimes will also even give you recommendations of what to do. All right, I'm not going to go through each of these, but we will show you kind of how this works starting with the executive summary. So what we found is the executive summary is kind of the first place that a lot of the people that have been using this go to. they start here because it really just summarizes for that manager, hey, these are the big ticket items that you should pay attention to, and just puts it all in one place. All right, so like, for example, this is saying, okay, these are some areas for improvement. Premium lining economics are broken. Okay, this is just a summary of what it's finding. Your premium materials are killing your profit. And maybe it's being misclassified. All right. And you can drill to that section. Like this is going to the abnormalities in the data, and let's go to the premium materials. Okay, it's giving me a little bit more of the detail. This is what we found. This is why it's a statistical anomaly. Okay. And this is why. And so the analysis skills here, again, they are your advisors to say, hey, you should pay attention to this. The next thing is the chat. And the chat is really the heart and soul of Telli. All right. If I want to ask additional questions about this, I will use the chat. Okay, so those advisors tell me what to look at, and now the chat will allow me to drill into it. So let's say I want to find out, okay, well, tell me more about this. Like, how did you come about this? What should I do about it? You know, what are the details? You can just click on this and you can start asking questions about this specific finding. All right, let's just do something simple like, you know, how did you come to this conclusion? So Telli is a good audit tool, right? It can show its work. You can say, hey, how did you come to this conclusion? But you could ask any financial question. Hey, what are the top 3 drivers for our profitability? Hey, how did my different locations perform and rank them? You can ask just about any question. So this is just the first example we'll look at here, and we'll do a couple more. So Telli is going through its thinking, and here it's going to give me, you know, a step-by-step, hey, this is how I came to this conclusion. Okay. So I'm going to do a couple of examples, and then I want you guys to give me some ideas. Give me some examples in the chat. Just any random questions, be creative, and we'll throw it into Telli and see what we get. Let's do one more here. I'm going to start a new chat, new conversation, and let's say, evaluate my different locations, rank them at their origins. All right, so this is another prompt that I'm going to ask to look at my different locations. So remember when I told you that Telli is aware of your organizational structure, and this report had different locations like, you know, Houston, Denver, New York. It can go through your report, through all the different layers, and then perform an analysis. Okay, it's not just looking at one node at a time. It can even look at past reports that you've run and compare. So I can say, compare the P&L that I just ran to last quarter's. All right, so this is just an example of how Telli can really take advantage of this oftentimes very complex org tree structure that you guys are probably leveraging. So here we're just having it say, hey, go across, use what we call this canonical data structure, which is basically looking through the org tree. And here it's ranking this stuff. It's doing the analysis across the different locations. Top performers, Houston is clear. Yay, that's where I'm from. So that's awesome. Denver small but mighty, and so on. These are the lagging locations. Okay. And you can continue to converse. You can say, oh, what should they do? You know, how can I make Miami more like Houston? All right. So I would encourage you guys to maybe pop some questions into the chat and we can try it out. We can ask it whatever we want. I'll give you some other examples while you guys think of some questions. So another prompt that I had asked as a follow-up question was, create 3 scenarios where I shift my focus from premium to basic products and show me what would happen. So now we're forward looking. We're doing some forecasting. Hey, what if scenarios? It's going to go out, pull the data. Here's your current baseline. All right, I'm going to give you 3 scenarios. Number 1, conservative shift. It'll be 25% of your product focus from premium to basic. This is what would happen. Here's the impact. Doubles net income. Okay, moderate shift, aggressive shift. So it's very instantly can even do modeling and forecasting for you. Things that I didn't even want to think about doing this in Excel. I mean, yes, we all do it in Excel, but just having to create those models in Excel and maintain them, like who wants to do that anymore? Here's a side-by-side summary. Telly's really good at giving us summaries. And then here's some assumptions and risks. Okay, so another thing with these tools, you know, you need a human in the loop. I think you've probably heard that before from many people. Yes, of course you need a human in the loop, but it's nice that Telly can also identify, hey, these are the things, you know, it's never perfect. You need to consider these different factors. And it's even giving me a recommendation. Hey, start with scenario 1. It's a good starting point. Doubles your net income with low risk. And here's how you do it.
We do have a few questions in the chat, Spencer.
All right, Rachel, we're going to use your question first. I don't know that we have inside sales on this P&L, so maybe it's going to, let's see what it says though. Okay, yeah, there's no inside sales category. So I can kind of I'll replace that with, let's say, premium sales. Okay.
Yeah, and they're in the C-store industry, so they're just looking for sales of everything inside the convenience store, basically. So I don't know if there's another dimension we could grab or something that would provide that, but
yeah, and I'm going to change the time period because this report is not going back more than 1 year, so. All right. So Rachel, I just replaced a couple of your prompts just because we don't have inside sales, for example, and I'm doing a month-on-month comparison instead of year-on-year, but I think the concept is the same. So we asked the question, it's going to gather the information. Okay, oh, it's going back and gathering, store breakdown. Okay, it's doing it by location as well and ranking them. Okay. The chat is really powerful. It's conversational, really easy to use. It also can be, Telly can also be personalized to you and your business. There are 3 tools that it takes advantage of. Okay, and I don't want to get too detailed into this, but there's 3 tools that you can use as a user to help mold Telly and train it and make it even better for you. So it's personal memory, knowledge bullets, and prompt overrides. Okay, personal memory is Telly will remember things about you as the user. It remembers your preferences. It remembers how you like things presented. So for example, I could say, hey, I'm the CFO. I focus on this. So I could put into Telly, let's just start a new chat conversation quickly. All right, I'm the CFO and you will dress me as your greatness. So that is going to put it into the personal memory. So now whenever I ask a question, it's going to know my role. It's going to always say, oh, your greatness. So that's personal memories. The second is knowledge bullets. These are really big. Okay, these permeate throughout your instance. These are domain facts. Well, one example are domain facts. Okay, and this is how I use it, which is to tell Telly about my business, my industry. Give it additional domain knowledge that it doesn't have in its general knowledge. Okay, so for example, I could say, hey, for our business, this is what our benchmark is because we're unique. Okay, so I could say business use a 62% fixed OpEx to revenue. So here you can teach it. Okay, so you can say understood. Oh, hey, your greatness. That's nice. I'll note that that's the baseline, and I'll use that in all future analysis. This is your personal AI. Okay, you can't necessarily do this with other AI tools. And then the third one is prompt overrides. So this dictates how Telly executes the analysis when it's executing and responding. So for example, I could say, hey, in this case, this example says flag any account that changed more than 10% month over month. So when you're doing an analysis, always take this action or take this into consideration when you're doing an actual analysis. And these three all work together. So the memory, it shapes how it communicates with you. The knowledge bullets provide the additional domain context. And then the prompt overrides, that directly dictates how Telly analyzes like the behavior of the analysis itself. All right. And then behind all this, there is additional magic happening. We use something called ACE, which is agent context engineering. Yes. Okay. It's a fancy term for Telly kind of coaching itself. Okay. So remember in the analogy I was drawing with these different skills and agents over here on the left, how these each represent if you were to hire an expert in each of these areas. Well, what this means is each of these has its own coach as well. That's checking its work. That's looking at its outputs and saying, hey, this looks good. This is bad. Change this next time. Okay. Don't get into this world of AI slop. And so not only are you getting a virtual advisor, each of those advisors has a coach. So it'd be like if you were to hire somebody, they come with a free manager or a coach that makes them better over time. So the point here really is that not only is Telly really powerful in what it can do, but as you use it, it gets better, smarter, more in tune with your business and your preferences. No different than if you hire a really good person and the longer they stay on board with you, the more valuable they become because they gain institutional knowledge. They understand how you work, what you like, right? They get better at their jobs and they become more valuable. All right. So that is the second part of Telly that I think is really important, which is the chat function and kind of the heart and soul. The last thing I'm going to show you guys is some output options. Okay. Because it's great that we can do the analysis, but we got to get that packaged up and delivered to people for them to actually do something with. All right. So any of these conversations that we've done, So we asked to compare margins for certain products as well. Okay, this gives me this output. There's a couple ways you can get this out to people. First is I can just copy it to a clipboard and paste it into an email or a Word document. And I'm just going to paste that in. Okay, pretty quick, easy copy and paste. Quick and dirty. We can also take this and export this out to, print it out, put it out to a Word document, a PDF, or a PowerPoint. All right, let's take a look at that PowerPoint. All right, so it creates this little, this PowerPoint summary of our chat, our question. All right, so there's a couple of standard outputs that come out of the box. In addition, you can say, hey, create like an executive summary. So in my prompt, I did an analysis and then I said, okay, generate a document that summarizes these findings, just typing in the chat. And it produces this output. Okay, so this gives us a more professional, formatted summary, like an executive summary. But basically, yeah, here you go. It's going to give you the executive summary. Here's the data. Here's more data. Here's our hypotheses, recommended actions. So I didn't write any of this, right? I didn't format any of this. I just said, make this for me. So that's another example of an output. I'll show you a couple more. All right. Here's my prompt. Create an HTML dashboard that allows me to adjust levers to boost profitability without touching any of my labor. All right. Gathers the data, creates this dashboard. And it takes, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 minutes to produce this, which if I were to try to do this in Power BI, it would probably take me a week. So yeah, it's going to give me a dashboard for doing some modeling, or you can do it for forecasting. All right, I've got conservative, moderate, aggressive. I can adjust these levers to try to meet my target. Okay, we're trying to get to 72%. How do I get there? Well, let's see. Maybe I shift my. Oh, it's going the wrong way. I want to go this way. Right? I start using more basic materials. I charge a little bit more on my services. And as you move those levers, this obviously is going to show you the impact by lever. Okay. And we have a narrative at the bottom. Okay, by increasing service revenue by 7%, growing sales, implementing a 3% price increase, and reducing this cost, this is what it ends up. 4.6 million. So earlier when I was talking about some of the ROI and benefits of Telli, and I was saying, well, it's hard to quantify some of the big ones because it can find and help you find, hidden savings or profit. This is what I mean by that. So instantaneous creation of dashboards, forecasting models, whatever you can dream of, without you having to turn to IT and say, hey, can you help me build this? Or creating a really complex spreadsheet. All right, I'm going to end these outputs with one fun one. You can actually ask Telli to create mini apps. So let's say I'm onboarding a new person and I want to train them on critical thinking or strategic thinking, but using our data. All right. And I told Telli, hey, create a short, like 3-question quiz using the data from our reports. And this is what it did. Okay, it created this financial decision scenario quiz. 3 questions. and it says, okay, debt financing triage. There's a scenario. What's the first thing you should do? I'm going to say this one. Yeah. Here's the scenario from the data. What's the best immediate action? Reconcile. And I'll just pick a random answer here. Let's say, okay, well, I got it right. Okay. This is a little bit out of the box thinking, but this is just to give you an idea that this tool is so powerful. It can transcend even like the basics of financial analysis into other areas. And it really is just up to your imagination. So to recap on the kind of quick overview of the product, number one, you have these analysis skills on the left. This is your council of advisors with their expertise. That's going to point you in the right direction. And what are the key things I need to be looking at? Okay. Number two is the chat. This is the heart and soul. It's where you can ask questions, get creative, hone the system, personalize it. And then finally, the outputs, right? The ability to then take what I've discovered, take these really valuable insights and put them into a format that other people can digest, right? And implement.